Well, there's more fear, uncertainty in the market, and people are doubting their investments right now. We're going to talk about the Russia-Ukraine situation because it seems to not be getting better. It seems to be actually escalating. We're going to talk about big losers in the market from Roku, RedFin, and DraftKings. And then we're going to talk about how to manage your emotions in this craziness of a market. So stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to TipRanks. I'm Richard Allen. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. The first thing I want to say is we've been talking a lot about the investment strategies to adopt right now in this market. It seems like people are really afraid in this market right now, and a lot of things are selling off. Stocks are reacting crazy to earnings, from Facebook dropping 20-some% to Roku down 25% on the day, RedFin down 26% on the day, DraftKings down 19% on the day. So crazy movements in the stock market. If stocks experience an earnings miss right now or a guidance outlook miss, it is not looking pretty for these stocks right now. And although the major indices started up today, they are slowly bleeding out and they're down as we speak. But why? Why all the market uncertainty? I want to talk about the Russia-Ukraine situation because that seems to be escalating, and there's a lot of back and forth going on with diplomacy, but also rumors, not substantiated yet, but rumors of different attacks by rebel forces and things like that going on at the border right now. So it's not looking great, and it is certainly spooking the market. Let me know how you feel about all of this as we talk about it. I want to hear from you down in the comments, but ideally, I want you not to panic. I want you to think of your investments right now as long-term. Invest in companies that you believe in long-term right now. I think that's the mindset that you should be having. But what's going on in Russia and Ukraine right now? The Ukrainian government and Russian state-controlled media on Friday are exchanging fresh accusations at each other of ceasefire violations at the border. Ukraine yesterday accused pro-Russian separatists of attacking a village near the border in the U.S. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke to the United Nations and warned that the situation is at a moment of peril. Analyst Edward Moya had this to say. He said, Wall Street is feeling very jittery as it looks to the left and sees intensifying geopolitical risks with the Ukraine situation, and then it looks to the right and sees the potential for aggressive Fed tightening. St. Louis Fed President James Bullard came out again over the last couple days and said if we don't raise rates, if we don't hike interest rates soon, inflation rates could get out of control. So that's spooking the market as well. It seems like peak fear is starting to occur in some stocks. We've seen Palantir drop 20-some% over the past couple days, which weren't terrible earnings. It wasn't a terrible earnings report. It was actually good for a lot of aspects of their business. They missed EPS by 50%, but for a growth company, it's like, who cares about that right now? But growth is really good for Palantir. They're growing sales. They're expanding their sales team, and the stock is down, trading in the 10s today. Let's talk about Roku really quick before we get into DraftKings and some of the other companies that we're going to touch on really quick. Roku has fallen drastically. They're down 80%, almost 80% from all-time highs. Roku reported revenue of 33% up year over year, but that was slower than the 51% growth rate it saw in the last quarter and the 81% growth rate posted in the second quarter. Growth is slowing for Roku. That spooked a lot of people. And then guidance. They lowered expectations for guidance below expectations. So that's not great looking forward. Anytime a company lowers guidance, it's not a good thing, especially in this market right now. So they are down as we speak, over 25%, trading right at $108 per share. My goodness. Let me know if you're buying the dip on Roku or if you're just sitting on the sidelines. I had somebody comment in the YouTube comments on my last video, like, is it a good time to buy gold? I feel like it's getting away from me. Gold can be a stable hedge against inflation and volatility in the market. Gold is only up less than 7% over the past year. So it's been very stable. But sometimes commodities like that can lag behind inflation. So inflation is up 7.5% year over year. in some cases much, much higher, but overall 7.5% year over year, where gold is only up under 7%. So something to keep in mind if you do want to just preserve your money right now. Could it be a good investment? Maybe, if you just want to preserve your cash. But I don't want you guys to panic out there. Okay, second company I want to talk about is in the real estate industry. They're an iBuyer. It's RedFin. They're down 26% today. So crazy movement for RedFin. They reported earnings that crushed revenue. They crushed on revenue, but their losses are widening. So they easily beat revenue expectations, but they forecasted a loss for the first quarter next year of 115 to 125 million. Now, the reason that number is so scary is their net loss for all of 2021 was about 110 million. So they're forecasting a net loss larger than their entire loss for last year. They're saying that they're acquiring businesses, they're spending a lot more on labor. This is a good thing for them long term, they're saying, but that's why the stock is down so much. They're guiding a crazy net loss for the first quarter of 2022. All right, the last company I want to talk about before I let you guys off, and I'll talk a little bit about not panicking again at the end, but DraftKings gave a 2022 outlook that was pretty bad. And they expect an adjusted EBITDA loss for 2022 between 825 and 925 million, which is much higher than the 572 million that was forecasted. So that's a scary number for DraftKings, but they're saying they're spending more on marketing, getting into other markets. That's why they're going to have a wider EBITDA loss than they expected. So they're spending more money trying to grow in this environment. DraftKings was a SPAC. They have a lot of cash on hand, and they're trying to spend that cash in a positive way. Well, ad rates are low, and they're expanding into other markets. So that's what's going on with DraftKings. So you've got these three stocks that I just talked about down 60 to 80% from all-time highs. Do you think any of them are at a buying opportunity right now? Do you even have any cash? Are you buying the dip? What are you planning for in this market? What I would like to say to you, though, is if you believe in any of these companies I talked about long term, think of these investments as long term. If any of your investments right now, you're buying the dip on, let's say Palantir, DraftKings, Roku, or RedFin, if you believe in these companies long term, a lot of times the best thing to do right now is to buy at these low prices and look away for a long time if you believe in them long term, because the market volatility right now is absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I think a lot of these companies are trading at really good price to sales ratios, especially something like Palantir in the price to sales ratio of 16 versus Snowflake still in the 80s. So I really like where some of these companies are right now, but I want to get your opinion. Let me know how you feel in this market. Hopefully you aren't panicking. As always, if you learned something new or found any value in this video at all, let me know by hitting that like button and that subscribe button down below. Have a fantastic weekend. Get some rest from this crazy market. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.